Hello and welcome to the Now Educated podcast. Today is the 14th of February, that means it's Valentine's Day, and I wonder what you're doing for your special person. For me, my wife got her gift that she'd asked for, a box of Ferrero Rocher chocolates. You want to check out the podcast episode we did on thinking like an Italian chocolatier. We talk about the wonder that is Ferrero Rocher chocolates and the lessons we can learn from its founder. Today though, we're not talking about Valentine's or chocolates, but we want to talk about how we invest our money. And over the last couple of weeks, I've had people who've come to me because they know what we do and asked me about different investment opportunities, even been offered to jump onto some investment opportunities. And some of them concern me because, truth be told, they feel, sound, and probably are scams. And why do I feel that way? Why do I think it? It's because whenever anyone tells me that there is no risk and there's 100% chance of getting a return, that concerns me, because the only thing that's certain in this life, or the two things that are certain in this life, are death and taxes. Everything else, it's a probability, particularly when it comes to investing money. So let's talk about how these scams work on us. And if you're from a country like mine, Zimbabwe, you'll understand that we've got a really high formal unemployment rate. So we've got a lot of people who are really working to make things come together. We're hustling. And that's fertile ground for scammers. They'll come and promise us the world, and it's always quick money. You can get it in a couple of days, in a couple of hours, you'll get a big return. We're seeing this with Bitcoin, and more recently, I've been getting picking up on these groups that are supposedly called eco-cash investments, or they use mobile money to transfer funds, and you can get returns like crazy. So if you know a little bit about the eco-cash system, just let me know, what's the maximum amount that you can get transferred to your account? Because the one transaction I saw, this person got mobile money transferred to them at 10 million Zim dollars. Last I checked, you can't do that in this country. But anyway, they send the messages, they hype you up, and you think, man, you're missing out. But let me share a few things that can help us both stay away from these scams or potential get-rich-quick schemes that really are lose all your money very quick schemes. And that is, whenever anyone tells you that there's a 100% chance, there's no risk, you're going to get a return 100% of the times, that's a red flag, number one. Secondly, if they're taking money from you or presenting an investment opportunity from you, you want to ask them if they're registered with any of the regulatory bodies. That's the Securities Exchange Commission of Zimbabwe, if you're in Zimbabwe. That's the RBZ. They must be registered because they are taking funds from people and they're offering investment products. If they're not registered, that's a big red flag. The reason why they should be registered is so that when the thing loses money or they do something that's unethical, you've got someone you can call on. So I don't know if anyone's talking to the RBZ, because it seems like these things are popping up every single day. The second thing is, and I love asking this question, so whenever I get thrown on these groups, one of the first questions I ask is, great, I'm going to make money 100% of the times. What is the real business? Because I'd love to understand what the business is about. What does the business do that generates returns like 10%, where I can get 10% a week, or 100% of my funds back in 2 weeks? And if the person can't answer or explain to you what the business does, it's a red flag. If they keep taking you back to how much money you're going to make, be concerned. I like what Peter Lynch says, that if the person who you want to invest money in can't explain their business with a crayon, they don't know what their business is, or they're trying to steal from you. So if the business case doesn't make sense, if you look at it and you don't understand it, walk away. Secondly, when you ask them what is the risk of me losing money, and they tell you there is no risk, run. That's why a lot of institutions that are registered are always asked, like alarm bells all around, tell us the risks involved. If you look at companies like the Tigera Property Real Estate Fund that listed recently, or that started offering its units last year, they had a page in their investment document that shared the risks that are involved in investing in them, because they do exist. And anyone who tells you that there is no risk is lying to you, or if they're not lying to you, they don't know. They honestly are ignorant. But either way, it's a red flag. So what do I do when I look at these investments? I want to share with you 5 things that I call my 5 or 6 things that I call my core 5. The first question you should be asking yourself is, how do I avoid losing money? Put differently, what are the risks involved? And there must be risks involved. And a person who can honestly tell you this, that's a plus. Secondly, I ask myself, how can I minimize my costs? Very often, most scams fail to get past question number 1. Minimize my costs, make sure that I don't overpay for underperformance. The third thing I'm asking myself, now that I understand the risks, are there ways to minimize those risks and at the same time maintain or increase my returns? Fourthly, I always ask myself, is this tax compliant? And how can I make it more tax efficient? So if it's tax compliant, how can I pay the least amount of tax on this particular investment opportunity? Fifthly, I ask myself, is this diversifying my portfolio? When I look at the stuff that I'm invested in, is this adding a different dimension to the stuff I'm already doing? That way, I am spreading my risk so that I can be wrong in some areas, but overall be fine. So I'm fine with being wrong in the short term, but being okay in the long term. And then the 6th thing, and we will probably talk about this I say to myself, how do I invest in a way that I never retire, that I'm involved in it, I'm engaged in it, and I never make so much money that I feel like all I need to do is relax. But when it comes to scams, go back to number 1. Understand what the company does. Understand the risks involved. Because if you don't, you may end up losing everything you've worked hard for just because these guys are really good at appealing to our greed. Whenever anyone comes at you and focuses solely on how much money you can make, they're trying to obstruct you, they're trying to blur the true essence of what they're doing. Don't give in to your greed. Because very often, your greed leads to losses. And the only thing easy to do with money is losing. My name is Terrence, and I hope you're now educated. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Alright, so if you're watching this on YouTube, firstly, thank you so much for taking the time to invest in learning and growing yourself. And if you believe that our content is helping you, you know what you need to do. You need to share this with as many people as you can, subscribe on that thing, so that allows us to reach more people. The aim of this channel, the aim of this podcast is to help as many people build healthy relationships with money. And we can only do that with your help. So remember, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so we can serve you.